So, what's up everyone? I'm attorney Aiden Durham with 180 Law Co. in Colorado. You're watching All Up in Your Business, and we're going through your comments and answering some of your legal questions. Before we get into all of that fun stuff though, remember that I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. The stuff I talk about in this video is not to be a substitute for actual legal advice. If you need help with any legal situation, you should consult with a lawyer. Even though I am reading your questions and answering them as a lawyer, it is not legal advice. Talk to a lawyer one-on-one if you need legal advice. All right, that's out of the way. Let's get on to it. I wanted to start a business soon, but I don't know where to begin. Should I file a trademark for name and logo first, or should I do an LLC first? This is a great question and something that comes up really often. There's no definitive answer to it. You could do either. It doesn't totally make a big difference either way. Generally speaking, I like to do it in this order. Let's do a clearance search. Conduct a clearance search for your, intended proposed business name for your trademark first. Let's at least have a good idea that it's available. If we know the name's available, then we can go on to forming the LLC and then submit the trademark application and get that process started. But you don't have to do it that way. The trademark, like the name for a trademark or a logo, doesn't have to be the same as your LLC name. They're not the same thing. So your LLC could be named whatever you want it to be, but you could still operate under a different trademark. But the timing that I just described is kind of generally what I would suggest for my clients. How can I trademark a phrase? You do it the same way you would get a registered trademark for anything else. You would submit, assuming you want to do a federal trademark registration, you would submit an application with the United States Patent and Trademark Office and go through that whole process to get the trademark registered for a phrase. You have to show the USPTO that you are using that phrase in connection with the sale of some goods or services. Get through any initial evaluation. If there's any kind of likelihood of confusion issues or anything like that, you have to jump through those hoops. But overall, the process for trademark registration for a phrase is exactly the same as it is for a name, a logo, anything else. Can I DBA, LLC, and trademark my name for a merch brand? Yes. Yeah, the name of your merch brand can be a DBA, an LLC, and a trademark. That's pretty common. I don't know why you would need an LLC and a DBA. A DBA is like a nickname for your LLC usually. If your LLC name is your merch brand, I don't know why you would need the DBA if you're going to be doing business under that LLC name. But to answer your question, yeah, you can do all three. Yeah, yeah, you can do that. I love the Q&As. Good, I do too. I actually have a question. Elon Musk said something about the USPTO in his Oval Office press conference the other day, but I couldn't quite catch exactly what he was talking about. Can you clarify what that was and what it may mean for trademarking? So I wasn't familiar with what this question's referring to. I mean, I knew that Elon Musk was in the Oval Office and talked about some stuff. I had to look into it. I couldn't find exactly what you might be referring to. The only thing that I could find that I think this might be about is that Doge, D-O-G-E organization that's, I don't know, looking into government stuff. They found a $3.4 million contract for inclusive innovation at the USPTO, if that's what you're referring to. I don't know much about it, and frankly, it's outside the scope of this video and outside the scope of what I want to talk about. But my guess, inclusive innovation, when we talk about innovation and stuff, we're usually talking about patents, not trademarks. And with what, the types of things that Elon Musk is in, like with him, you know, with SpaceX and all that stuff, he's probably referring more to patents. His focus is more on, I'd assume, patents. And so whatever it was he was talking about in the Oval Office, I can't say for sure, but I can guess pretty confidently that it is more related to patents and not trademarks. So it probably doesn't have anything to do with trademarks or the trademark process. Don't take my word for it. I could be wrong, but my best educated guess is that it doesn't really mean anything for trademarks, trademark registration. This whole process, you know, they might, it might affect some of the staffing at the USPTO, which means that trademark applications might take longer, even longer than they already do, to get processed, and the timing for getting a trademark registered might take even longer than it already does. But if anything, that would most likely be the impact from what Elon Musk and Doge is doing. Might affect like staffing at the USPTO, and that would affect the trademark process, if anything. If someone decides to use my name, haven't trademarked, and they decide to trademark it, can they come after me even though I was using it first? I'm going to assume for this question that you and this other party are using the trademark for the same or similar goods and services. Can they come after you? Technically, yeah, they can. Nothing's preventing them from doing it. Would they be successful? Would they prevail in doing so? Probably not. If you were using the trademark first, trademark rights ultimately in the United States come down to first use. Who was using the trademark in commerce first? There is a lot of nuance that goes into that, of course, because it is the law, and the law would be nothing without nuance and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It depends on this, it depends on that. You know, we can never say for sure. Everything's up in the air. That's why this is so much fun. Strict answer, strictly speaking, if you're using the trademark first, somebody else can't swoop in and force you to stop. Again, there's lots of wiggle room and nuance in that, but the strict answer would be no. If you're using it first, you have priority to it, even if they get the trademark registered for it first. This kind of goes back to the other question about the USPTO. Just curious as to why you aren't familiar too much with patent law. I thought that falls under IPO, like intellectual property. Thank you for clarifying. It definitely helps. Realistically, I think I do need to get an attorney involved, but just can't afford one. Okay, well, why am I not too familiar with patent law, even if it falls under intellectual property? That is true. Patents are within the umbrella of intellectual property, but patents are their own animal. Attorneys have to pass a special patent bar. We have to take a whole separate exam to practice patent law, and to even get that far, we need to have a certain kind of technical background in like STEM or, you know, the science, technology kind of stuff. So we have to have a specific kind of background, and we have to pass a special bar exam to be able to practice patent law. It's very, very complicated. I don't have either. I don't have that background. I don't have the desire to do it, and I am not properly qualified. So that's why I know just enough to say that it applies to like inventions and to talk to a patent attorney. But outside of that, my knowledge of patent law is very, very limited. Trademarks are more fun. Well, I'm sure patent attorneys would say that patents are fun too. Trademarks are fun. Copyrights are fun too. The trademarks are most fun, in my opinion. You never talk about BOI and FINCEN. Why? And then the follow-up, hello lawyer, why are you not talking about BOI with multiple question marks? How to file BOI, etc., with multiple question marks and a heart. Thank you for the heart. Why do I not talk about BOI and FINCEN? This comment was from a while ago. The reason I didn't talk about it, there was so much back and forth. There were no answers about what was going on with the beneficial ownership information reporting requirements. They were in force. You know, it was mandatory for a while, and then some courts said, hey, wait, we're not going to enforce it right now. And then they flipped and said, actually, no, now it's required again. And then they flipped it again and said, hold on, wait, we're pausing it again. Now it's voluntary. As of today, the beginning, of March, when I'm filming this, the BOI requirements are in effect, and you have to file the BOI report with FinCEN. But that's why I didn't talk about it, because we didn't know what was going on, and I didn't want to. There's that. I didn't want to. But how to file, you go to fincen.gov and follow the buttons, follow the prompts to submit the beneficial ownership information report. It's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot to it. I've done it. I've done it for my own companies and for a bunch of my clients, and it's pretty easy. I guess I can make a video walking you through how to file the BOI report. I don't know if I want to, but I can. I don't know. Comment if you want me to do something like that. I'll think about it. Hello, could I create an LLC without my ID? And same for bank account. You can certainly form an LLC without your ID. I'm not aware of any state that requires that you have an ID to form the LLC. Certainly Colorado, they don't ask about it. I've dealt with California, it doesn't come up. I've dealt a little bit with Florida, doesn't come up. I can't think of a single state where you have to show your ID or any, proof of identification when you're forming an LLC. So you can do that. But brings me back to the last question about the BOI. This isn't the process of forming the LLC, but once you've formed the LLC, now under current requirements, you have to file the BOI report with FinCEN, and for that, you will need some government-issued ID. So you do if you want to comply with all current requirements, you would need an ID. But as far as just forming the LLC, I'm not aware of any state that requires that. Bank accounts, though, no. You can't open a bank account without an ID. There's federal regulations. I don't know what they are, but I know that they exist. There's federal stuff that requires banks to verify who you are. So no, you can't open a bank account without an ID. Sorry. Do I put the virtual address I have on my LLC, or do I put my real address? Put the virtual address if you can. Some states have certain requirements that might prevent you from using a virtual address for your LLC, but I assume that's what you got it for, was so you wouldn't have to use your home address or your real address. Or is this a trademark question? I don't know. Use the virtual address if you can. If there's something preventing you from using the virtual address, then you might have to put your real address or your home address. And that's all. That's all for this round, folks. Thanks so much for joining. Had some good questions. I gave some decent, not straightforward answers, but again, that's how the law works. There's never any real answers. Yeah, that's why it's fun. Okay, comment below if you have questions you want me to address. Comment below if you are having a good time watching this. Comment below if you just want to say hello, whatever. I like it. Check out links in the description if you want more information, more resources, stuff like that. And make sure you subscribe, thumbs up, comment, share this video. It helps me, spread the word and all of that. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Aiden Durham, and I'll see you next time.